Hey, good morning. Listen, the heat is coming up if you hear that, but should be quick. Another video in the Green Lives Matter section. This is a study on barley. 2 Kings 7:1, Elisha said, "Hear the word of the Lord, thus saith the Lord, tomorrow about this time shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel in the gates of Samaria." Ruth 2:23, she kept the fast by the maidens of Boaz, and she was to glean until the end of the barley harvest and the wheat harvest, and she lived with her mother-in-law. Leviticus 27:16, if a man shall sanctify unto the Lord some part of the field of his possession, then thy estimation shall be according to the seed thereof. A homer of barley seed shall be valued at 50 shekels of silver. So I guess that's how they did the property taxes, by, what they can grow. Okay? Ruth 3:17, she said, take these 6 measures of barley, gave he me, for he said to me, go not empty to the mother-in-law. So Ruth was taking barley to the mother-in-law. Hosea 3:2, that's the story of Hosea, who God told him to go marry a whore. And he bought her for 15 pieces of silver, a homer of barley, and a half a homer of barley. A homer and a half of barley. Maybe, did he buy her for food stamps? I don't know. All right, Exodus 9, this was after those plagues of, this one was the plague of hail, I believe, that the flax and the barley was smitten. For the barley was in the ear, and the flax was bald, B-O-L-L-E-D. Numbers 5:15, this is about the jealousy offering. If a man's, has a suspicion about his wife, he brings his wife to the priest, and he brings her offering for her, which was a 10th part of an ephah of barley meal. He pours no oil on it nor frankincense. It's an offering of jealousy, an offering of memorial, bringing iniquity to remembrance. Ruth 1:2, Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, was with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. Ruth 3:2, and now is not Boaz our kindred, whose maidens thou wast? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. Ruth is a good story, how she caught herself a man, and the man was drunk. Anyway, 2 Samuel 14:30, therefore he said unto his servants, see, Joab's field is near mine, and he has barley there. Go and set it on fire. And Absalom's servant set the barley on fire. 2 Samuel 2:19, he delivered them into the hands of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them in the hill before the Lord. And they fell, all 7 together, and were put to death in the days of the harvest, in the first days of the beginning of the barley harvest. 1 Kings 4:28, barley also and straw for the horses, and the dromedaries brought they into the place where the officers were, every man according to his charge. 2 Kings 7:16, the people went out and spoiled the tents of the Syrians, so that a measure of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord. I think it's came to pass the man of God had spoken the king, saying, 2 measures of barley for a shekel, and a measure of fine flour for a shekel, tomorrow in the gates of Samaria. Isaiah 28:25, when he made plain the face thereof, does he not cast abroad the fitches, and scatter the cumin, and cast in the principal wheat, and the appointed barley and the rye, R-I-E, in their place. Ezekiel 4, thou shalt eat it as barley cakes. Thou shalt bake it with dung that comes out of a man. Ezekiel 13:9, you pollute me among my people for handfuls of barley and a piece of bread, to slay the souls that should not die, and to save the souls alive that should not live. By your lying to my people that hear your lies. John 6 talks about that kid that had 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes, and Jesus fed a bunch of people more than he should have, miraculously with that barley loaf. Revelation 6:6, I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts saying, a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny. But don't hurt the oil or the wine. And Judges 7. I'm going to read you the English Standard Versions. It's a little long. Gideon's 300 men. Then Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and all the people who were with him rose up early and encamped beside the spring of Harod. And the camp of Midian was north of them by the hill of Morah in the valley. And the Lord said to Gideon, the people with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hand, lest Israel boast over me, saying that by my own hand has saved me. Now, therefore, proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, whoever is fearful and trembling, let him go home and hurry away from Mount Gilead. Then 22,000 of the people returned, and there was only 10,000 left. And the Lord said to Gideon, there's still too many people. Take them down to the water, and I will test them for you. Any one of whom I say to you, this one shall go with you, shall go with you, and anyone whom I say, this one shall not go with you, shall not go. So he brought the people down to the water, and the Lord said to Gideon, everyone who drinks or laps the water with his tongue as a dog laps, put by himself. Likewise, everyone who kneels down to drink. And the number of those who lapped, putting their hands to their mouth, was 300 men. But all the rest of the people knelt down to drink the water. And the Lord said to Gideon, with the 300 men who lapped, I will save you, and give the Midianites in your hand, and let all the others go, every man to his home. And the people took provisions in their hands with their trumpets, and he set the rest of Israel, every man to his tent, but retained the 300 men, and the camp of Midian was below him in the valley. The same night the Lord said to him, arise and go down to the camp, for I have given it into your hand, but if you're afraid to go down to the camp with Purah, your servant, and you shall hear what they say, and afterwards your hands will be strengthened to go down against the camp. Then he went down to Purah and his servants to the outposts of the armed men who were in the camp. And the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the people of the east lay along the valley like locusts in abundance. Their camels were without number as the sand on the seashore. When Gideon came, behold, a man was telling a dream to his comrade. And he said, behold, I dreamed a dream. Behold, a cake of barley tumbled into the camp of Midian, and came to the tent and struck it. So it fell down, and it turned upside down, and the tent was laying flat. And his comrade answered, this is no other than the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, the man of Israel. God has given into his hand Midian and all the camp. And as soon as Gideon heard the telling of the dream and its interpretation, he worshipped, and he returned to the camp of Israel and said, arise, for the Lord has given the host of Midian in your hand. And he divided the 300 men into companies and put trumpets in the hand of all of them with empty jars, and torches were inside the jars. And he said to them, look at me and do likewise. When I come to the outskirts of the camp, do as I do. When I blow the trumpet, I and all who are with me then blow the trumpets, and on every side of the camp shout for the Lord and Gideon. And then Gideon defeated Midian.